Hi, I'm Phoebe, and
I'm Connor. We're gonna sing Gummy Bear and I hope you like it.
And stores on November 13th with lots of music, videos, and extras.
True.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear. I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I'm a yummy, gummy, shiny, lucky gummy bear. I'm a gummy bear. Yes, I'm a gummy bear. Oh, I see more than dozens gummy, gummy, gummy bear. Let's get a gummy, 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 gummy bear. Gummy bear, gummy, gummy, gummy bear.
take it off. Bye.
Oh, I'm a gummy bear. I'm a gummy